My dad agreed to sell me to his loan shark in exchange to clear his debt. My aunt told me she would help me escape until I heard the phone call she was having the day before the scheduled wedding. My dad agreed to sell me to his loan shark to clear his debt. My aunt told me she would help me escape until I heard the phone call. The day I turned 17, my father told me I had 1 month to marry his loan shark, Olaf Snackoff, or he'd let him collect the debt another way. Dad had always been a gambler, but I thought he had it under control. Apparently not, because he owed Olaf $300,000, and the interest was compounding daily. Olaf was willing to forgive everything if I married him. Dad said Olaf had been very patient with us. The name rang a bell. I'd met Olaf once before when I was 14. He came to our house for what Dad called a business dinner. He was extremely muscular, yellow teeth from smoking, very Russian, and whenever he thought I wasn't looking, I felt his eyes drag across my body. He asked about my high school plans and whether I was dating anyone. Dad laughed nervously and changed the subject. Now, 3 years later, it all made sense. The marriage contract was already drawn up. I'd have to live with Olaf and produce his offspring within 2 years. While Dad was speaking, I thought about going to the police. That's when he burst into laughter. Olaf has connections everywhere, he said. Don't even think about alerting the authorities or you'll just make this harder. The scariest part wasn't his anger, it was how calm he was while planning to sell me. He took my phone and smashed it against the wall. At 3 a.m., I tried to run, but the car wouldn't start. The nearest town was 8 miles away. But when you're 17 with no phone and no one coming to save you, 8 miles feels like 80. The next morning, Dad installed locks on my door from the outside. Just a precaution, he said, sipping his coffee like he hadn't turned my room into a cell. I only had one visitor, Olaf. At first, he acted somewhat bearable, calling me his future wife, only touching my shoulder or hand. But the more uncomfortable I looked, the more he pushed. Soon his hand was glued to my inner thigh whenever we sat together, his fingers pressing harder as he talked about how many kids we'd have. Sometimes I'd glance at Dad, but his expression was always the same, nodding in approval, a slight smile on his face. The worst came when Dad and Olaf sat at the kitchen table. Dad went to the bathroom. Olaf called me over. I pretended to be busy cooking, but when his voice turned threatening, I sighed and walked toward him. He pulled me onto his lap. The stench of whiskey and cigarettes rotted my nostrils. The second he did it, Dad walked in. "How are my two lovebirds?" he said, before checking on the Alfredo. Olaf whispered, "Does a pretty thing like you like it from behind?" That was my breaking point. I ran to my room and cried until my eyes burned. 10 minutes later I heard the front door slam. Dad walked in. "Dad, I can't do this. You should be ashamed. Olaf is doing us a huge favor, and you're throwing it away." "Dad, please. I'll work 3 jobs. I won't sleep. I'll do whatever it takes to pay the debt. Just not marriage." "No, my word is final," he said before slamming the door and locking it from the outside. After that, I stopped eating, sleeping, showering. It all felt pointless. My head was consumed with wishing Dad would have a heart attack and drop dead. The thought made me feel guilty, then angry for feeling guilty. 3 weeks before the wedding, Aunt Rachel showed up, Dad's younger sister. She cornered me in the kitchen that night. "I know what's happening," she whispered. "I've been where you are. My dad tried to sell me off too." My heart nearly stopped. She said she'd been monitoring through cousins and couldn't stand by anymore. She had a plan to get me out. I was terrified of being caught but more terrified of staying. She sneaked me food, created distractions so I could breathe. The night before we were supposed to escape, I couldn't sleep. I crept downstairs for water and heard her on the phone in the guest room. "Yes, Olaf. She completely trusts me. She'll get in the car willingly tomorrow. Dad promised my cut, right? 50,000. My legs nearly gave out. The glass slipped from my hand but I caught it. The rescue was a trap. The hope was a lie. Tomorrow I'd be delivered directly to Olaf. I backed away, my bare feet silent on the cold hardwood. I set the glass down on Mom's old hallway table. I crept upstairs, my mind racing. I locked my bedroom door. The lock was useless, but I needed it anyway. I grabbed the burner phone Aunt Rachel had given me, the very tool of my supposed escape, now a chain. I scrolled her messages, all sweet concern, but one number kept appearing in her call history. The messages were deleted. I waited until I heard her bedroom door close, then dialed it. A familiar voice answered. "Rachel is late. This better be important." "Olaf." I hung up, my stomach churning. How long had they been planning this? Was anything she'd told me true? I spent the night planning. The moon cast prison bar shadows through my barred window. I'd play along with her plan, let her think I was naive. But first, I needed evidence. Next morning, Aunt Rachel knocked early. Dad unlocked the door. She brought breakfast and a warm smile that made my skin crawl. "Big day today," she said. "Eat up. You'll need your strength. I forced a grateful smile. Thank you. I don't know what I'd do without you. She hugged me. Family looks out for family. After lunch, she showered. Dad was busy on the phone. I slipped into her room. Her phone was on the nightstand, unlocked. I scrolled fast. Text chains with Olaf about my value. Bank transfers from Dad. Trust fund paperwork circled in red. 50,000. Her cut. She owed people too. More gambling. Screenshot. 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 Then, find what you're looking for? I spun around. Aunt Rachel stood in the doorway, wrapped in a towel. Her face was calm. I was just, save it. She stepped in, shut the door behind her. You heard me on the phone, didn't you? I nodded. She sat on the bed. Your father and I aren't bad people. We're just desperate. Olaf's not terrible. He'll take care of you. He's 43. He wants me to breed children for him. Many women marry older men and live well. A golden cage is still a cage, I said. Her mask slipped. It doesn't matter what you think. Tomorrow you're getting in that car with me. Or we do this the hard way. What's the hard way? She smiled. Predator teeth. Olaf has a doctor friend. A little something in your juice and you'll be signing with a smile. My blood ran cold. I handed her the burner phone. But she didn't know I'd sent the evidence to Uncle Brian's old email. Dad's brother, a paralegal 2 states away. Uncle Brian. Dad is selling me to pay gambling debts. Please help. Evidence attached. Good girl, Aunt Rachel said. Now go to your room. We leave at 9 tomorrow. Don't try anything stupid. Olaf has man watching the house. That night, Olaf came for dinner. He sat next to me, his hand on my knee under the table, squeezing until it hurt. Dad and Aunt Rachel chatted about old times like they weren't planning to traffic me. You're quiet tonight, little bird, Olaf said, squeezing harder. Excited about tomorrow? She knows, Aunt Rachel said. Dad's fork clattered. What? It's fine, she said. We discussed it. She understands. Olaf squeezed harder. Maybe we do ceremony tonight. No, Aunt Rachel said. Stick to the plan. Too many arrangements. She's not going anywhere tonight. Are you? I shook my head. After dinner, they added more locks to my door. I heard them drilling until midnight. My cage reinforced. Morning came gray and heavy. Aunt Rachel unlocked my door at 8. Dressed in a navy blazer that made her look so professional. Shower and put this on, she said, handing me a white dress. Olaf wanted me looking nice for the drive. I did as told. The shower water ran lukewarm. The dress was white with delicate lace at the collar, like a bride at her own funeral. Downstairs, Dad was pacing. Dad paced the kitchen, footsteps creating a nervous rhythm. Maybe we should just do it here, he was saying to Olaf. Judge Morrison owes me a favor. Why risk the drive? Because I want this done properly, Olaf replied, his voice leaving no room for argument. At my home, with my people as witnesses. Official, legal, binding. The girl knows the plan, Dad argued, running a hand through his thinning hair. What if she tries something? Then we handle it, Olaf said simply, checking his phone. I have men posted along the route. She won't get far if she runs. And if she tries to signal for help. He let the threat hang in the air. My stomach dropped. Even if I managed to escape the car, they'd catch me. This wasn't just 3 people anymore. It was an operation. Aunt Rachel appeared with coffee and toast. Eat something. Long drive ahead. I forced down a few bites. The toast scratched my throat. Through the kitchen window, I saw Aunt Rachel's rental car in the driveway. A silver sedan. Ordinary. No one would suspect what it was for. Time to go, Olaf announced at 9 sharp. Checking his watch. He grabbed my arm, his fingers digging in. You ride with Rachel. I follow behind. Any problems, any attempts to run, things get very unpleasant. Understand? I nodded. Say it, he demanded, shaking me. I understand. Good girl. He kissed my forehead. I fought not to vomit. The walk to the car felt like a funeral march. Dad stood on the porch watching. No goodbye. No apology. Just the same satisfied smile. Already counting his money. Aunt Rachel started the engine. The seatbelt's click sounded like a prison door. Olaf's SUV pulled out behind us. I watched my house disappear in the side mirror. The place where Mom used to read me bedtime stories. Would I ever see it again? It's a 2-hour drive, Aunt Rachel said as we turned onto the main road. We can listen to music if you want. I said nothing, watching the familiar streets pass by. The park where Mom took me. The library where I'd hidden in books. My old life was slipping away. 20 minutes in, Aunt Rachel's phone rang on Bluetooth. Brian, she said, surprised. Yes, she's with me. What? No, that's ridiculous. I'm taking her shopping for her wedding. My heart raced. Uncle Brian got my message. He'd actually checked that old email. What email? She snapped. Her knuckles whitened on the wheel. Brian, you're paranoid. Dad's debts are his business. I'm just here to help my niece. She listened, then went pale. You called who? Brian. You shouldn't have done that. These people don't play games. She hung up and immediately dialed Olaf. We have a problem. Brian knows. He's called someone. Maybe police. Maybe FBI. Through the speaker, Olaf cursed in Russian. How does he know? Aunt Rachel glared at me in the mirror. The little brat sent him photos. Evidence. Screenshots of everything. Where are you now? Route 47. Just past the water tower. Pull over at the gas station ahead. We transfer her to my vehicle now. Aunt Rachel's jaw tightened as she accelerated. You stupid girl. You've made this so much worse for yourself. You think Olaf was bad before? You haven't seen anything yet. I saw the gas station ahead. Once I was in Olaf's car, my chances dropped to zero. I had to act now. As Aunt Rachel slowed to turn in, I unbuckled my seatbelt. The click was loud in the tense silence. Don't even think about it, she warned, reaching for me. But I was already moving. The second the car stopped, I threw open the door and ran. The asphalt tore at my shoes, but I didn't care. Behind me, Aunt Rachel screamed. I heard Olaf's SUV door slam. I didn't look back. I ran toward the store, hoping for witnesses, for help, for anything. Olaf was faster than he looked. He caught me before I reached the door, his arm wrapping around my waist, lifting me like I weighed nothing. Stupid girl, he hissed in my ear. Now you make me angry. He dragged me back toward his SUV. I kicked and screamed. A few people stared but did nothing. Just another domestic dispute. Not their problem. That's when I heard the sirens. Olaf froze. Two police cars came fast. Lights flashing red and blue. He dropped me and ran for his SUV, shouting at Aunt Rachel to move. But more police cars boxed them in. There was nowhere to go. I collapsed on the asphalt, my legs shaking too hard to stand. An officer approached. Hands visible. Voice calm. Are you hurt? She asked. We got a call about a kidnapping. Are you Arya? I started crying then. The words tumbling out between sobs. My father sold me to pay his debts. They were forcing me to marry him. The officer helped me to her car while others arrested Olaf and Aunt Rachel. They didn't go quietly. Olaf shouted about his lawyers and his connections. Aunt Rachel insisted it was all a misunderstanding, that I was a troubled teen making up stories. At the station, I told them everything. The debts, the forced marriage, the locks on my door. A detective with kind eyes and gray hair listened without judgment. I showed them the photos I'd taken. Uncle Brian was already there with a lawyer. He'd driven all night. He hugged me tight. I got your email at midnight, he said. I should have checked on you after your mom died. I knew my brother had problems, but never this. The lawyer, Sarah Chen, sat with us. The evidence is strong. Conspiracy to commit forced marriage, false imprisonment, trafficking. They're going away for a long time. What about Dad? I asked. There's a warrant. They'll find him. They did. 3 hours later, trying to flee to Canada with a suitcase full of cash. Turns out he'd been skimming from Olaf too. Planning to disappear once I was married off. The next few days blurred. Statements, hearings, court. Aunt Rachel hadn't escaped an arranged marriage at all. She'd made that up. She'd lost her inheritance gambling and owed money to dangerous people. She'd done this before. I wasn't her first victim, just her first failure. The trial was swift. Olaf got 15 years for attempted trafficking. Aunt Rachel got 10. Dad got 12 plus more for fraud. I stayed with Uncle Brian during the trial. His wife, Patricia, was kind but careful. Like I might break. Their kids didn't know what to make of me. The girl from the news. Stay as long as you need, Uncle Brian said. Through college, whatever you want. But I had other plans. Mom's life insurance had a clause. If Dad committed a crime that harmed me, the money came to me directly. $300,000 plus interest. I finished high school fast. Saved the rest for college. I decided to study social work to help kids like me. The day I turned 18, I got a letter from Dad in prison. I didn't open it. I marked it return to sender and moved on with my life.